Hi guys, Korean movie recapped here. Before we start, warning. Spoilers ahead. Today, I'm going to recap a 2013 action romance Korean movie called Steal My Heart. This movie is about a detective who investigates a case and the suspect is a former girlfriend who he still loves. Will the detective arrest the ex-girlfriend? Or will he fall in love again and conceal her? Let's find out. This is Lee Ho-tae, a successful and attractive detective who also works as a psychological criminal speaker. He is able to deal with complicated cases all of the time. In the meantime, the office receives reports of the disappearance of 6 women in 3 months, and 5 of them were found dead. They convene a meeting right away because this case is complicated by the fact that the perpetrator left no clue. The cop director believes that is a serial murder. Suddenly, Lee interrupts the meeting and he makes certain that the perpetrator, who is suspected of being the director of a plastic surgery clinic, would be arrested shortly tonight at a popular golf club. In the evening, the entire cops are deployed to keep an eye on the suspect. When it confirms, suddenly there's a car going fast and hitting him. He gets a serious injury, requiring him to be rushed to hospital. Lee, who knows the incident, goes to the hospital right away to interrogate, but the doctor instantly comes to a halt, then asks him to focus on his condition. Phone suddenly rings, informing that the cop has found the corpses. The next day, he receives the information on the director's hit and run, looks over the file, and immediately identifies the incident. From the records, he deduces the perpetrator is a lady named Yoon Jin-suk. On his way to identify, he passes a house with a car parked in a yard that looks like the suspect. He plans to meet the owner by knocking on the door, but no one answers. Then he opens the door and it's unlocked. When he walks in, he notices a woman in pajamas and a sheet mask, who seems to have a cold. But he doesn't care and asks a few questions right away. Instead of responding, she changes clothes and asks him out. But first, he instructs to take off the sheet mask, but she refuses. Because of that, he forcibly removes it. After that, he is flabbergasted because the woman is Lee Suk-jae, who has filled his heart 10 years before and is still in love. Then, he asks about Yoon. She explains that Yoon and Suk are the same person. After that, he decides to take her to the office to surrender. During the ride, he inquires about the identity, such as a driver's license and ID card, but she casually says didn't have one. He is shocked and stops the car immediately, then confirms what he had heard. In her opinion, the important thing is to get a car first. Then he explains a few things that can happen because escaping and driving without a license, the punishment would likely be harsher. But instead of listening, she fell asleep. Suddenly, a phone rings, informing that his house has been flooded due to a leak from the inside. As he arrives at home, the water is running freely because he has forgotten to switch off the water dispenser. Because of that, Yoon helps in cleaning the entire house. Then, he realizes must bring her immediately. Instead of heading straight to the office, he goes to the convenience store to get some food for her. However, the director keeps calling. To calm him down, he says he doesn't find her. When he returns, she asks to go right away. But he refuses because she is sick. She feels he would get into trouble because she notices at least 8 CCTV cameras recording them before entering the house. Calmly he says there would be no issues, then she eventually agrees to stay at his residence till the sickness is gone. The day after, his co-worker suggests making an open arrest warrant against Yoon so they can act quickly. But he refuses and requests an extension of 2 days. Then he returns home, but he doesn't see her, and assumes she has run away. Suddenly, the door opens and that's her, who just goes to the market to buy groceries. The next day, the director held a meeting after another detective reported an Andronov Nikolai Ivanovich artwork had been stolen. He shows CCTV footage that captured the perpetrator's movements, which is Yoon. Lee is shocked and abruptly leaves the meeting. He's furious because Yoon is not just a hit-and-run driver, but also a thief. On the other hand, she is going to teach the other burglars about porcelain. Then he calls her, but she doesn't answer. Because of that, he tracks her down. Finally, he finds her and immediately takes her to the police station right away. On their way, she tries to explain, but he doesn't believe her anymore. Instead of going to the police station, they go to a car repair shop because they have a car accident and the car is badly damaged. On the other hand, his co-worker informs him about Yoon that she had visited a pharmacy with a man a few days ago and the cop will be checking the CCTV footage. Then, he rushes to the office right away and tries to get rid of the hard disk, but he fails. Because of that, they watch the footage together. Unfortunately, no results are obtained because she covers the CCTV with bottles. On the other side, Yoon goes to a cafe with Lee's neighbor to drink soju. He told her about Lee, who was upset when they broke up, and his decision to become a cop is motivated by her desire to marry a cop. When she hears that, she feels shaky and remembers when they were together. The next day, Lee and another detective go to Yoon's house to do an identification. When they arrive, his co-worker feels something odd, so he warns him to keep focused on the investigation. During the identification, 2 cops inform about her residence in the Back Bay dorm, where Lee lives. The area will be tightened and an arrest leaflet will be published tomorrow. He is quite frustrated. Before heading home, he stops by the store to get a couple t-shirts for himself and Yoon. But when he arrives at home, he courts her coming out of the next door with a toy. He is furious and demands her to return right away. After that, they try on the couple's t-shirts, but she snatches his shirt and forces to wear a shirt that's too small for him. Then they sit on the sofa, and she informs him about the white porcelain from the Yi dynasty. At the office, they held the meeting again because there's a report about the white porcelain from the Yi dynasty missing, and also a dog worth 40 million won. They believe the perpetrator is Yoon. On the other hand, she and her friends break into a closed cafe and drink beer. In the middle of the meeting, the cop gets information that Yoon is at Sinim dorm, then the director instructs all cops to go there. When they arrive, she exits through the back door, but she is noticed by another detective. Lee is trying to save her with a costume but fails. They almost hit him. Fortunately, she notices, then grabs and races him away from the location. As a result, they are pursued by each other, but they are able to escape because of her friend. After failing to catch, the cops return to the office and attempt to identify the person who ran with Yoon. A sketching expert deployed to draw according to the characteristics they see, and the result is the sketch is very similar to Lee's, but he straightened right away to assuage his co-worker's doubts. However, the director decides to put the face in the all-points bulletin, which escalates the chaos. When he returns home, he scolds her for all the chaos that had occurred as a result of her actions, and says about her punishment of at least 12 years in prison. When she hears that, she intends to return the stolen belongings, but she needs his help. Actually, he is opposed to the concept because of his job as a police detective, but in order to remove his face as a criminal, he agrees to help. Firstly, they plan to purchase the porcelain at an antiquities auction and then return to its previous location. The next day, the family withdrew the report of the porcelain loss. They also returned 40 million won of dog, jewelry, and art painting. One by one, the issues fade away, until a semi-conscious detective shows up at Lee's place to drink a beer. However, he meets Yoon. As a result, he pursues her, but he falls down the stairs and faints because he's drunk. After that, he rushes to the hospital. Then, Lee visits the detective at the hospital. He reminds Lee to clean up the mess for his future. After that, he visits her place, then takes her to the beach, where they stay at a seashore inn for a night. They talk about their relationship before. She regrets their breakup and speculates about their potential if that time hasn't occurred. He doesn't say anything, but he kisses her right away. The next morning, they went to a baseball game together. In the meantime, the director and all the detectives meet in the office to watch a baseball game on television. In the middle of the game, the camera shoots at Yoon and Lee, which makes the detective surprised. The director swiftly dispatched cops to seek down his whereabouts and shut down all entry and exit points. Meanwhile, Lee arrives at the pier. He gives her a fake passport to use and a couple rings that she should get 10 years before. He abruptly receives a notification from his co-worker, then asks her to leave. Shortly after, the cops arrive and approach him. Suddenly, she rushes up to him and surrenders without resistance. The following day, he is promoted for successfully solving the case, but she has to undergo a long interrogation. One of the staff says she doesn't speak, so the detective treats her rudely. Lee immediately barged into the interrogation room and witnessed her being treated shabbily. Unable to see, he urged her to tell that the person who has been assisting her all along is him, Lee. The director hears that, and as a result, he is demoted 4 levels to become a police guard, and she is sentenced to prison, but he always makes time to visit her. After all the mess, the detectives are working on a new case but unable to obtain proof. Suddenly, he enters the room and sees this case take place in a high-security residence. He feels only one person is able to enter, which is Yoon. The first case goes quite well, she is able to obtain the proof. The next day, Lee and Yoon go for a walk at the park. He asks about her next plans. But she has no need to consider because she is now employed by a detective. At the end of the movie, he reminds her while on duty to not take anything, in fact that she has stolen a gold bullion hidden in her pocket. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.